Hello and welcome back to Gamescussion once again. Today we have a special guest with us. Here's Tom. Say hello, Tom, to everybody.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Today's topic will be remakes and remasters of games. And to start off, what do you think about remasters and remakes?
I think it can go both ways, you know. I have a few titles that I would bring up as a good examples because some of the games that I played as a kid, now we're talking 10, 15, 20 years ago, hasn't been remastered now in modern day, and it really brings back quality games for a new audience that is growing up with consoles now. But
Yeah,
it can also like just end up in greed because I see a lot of the remastered versions that is pushed out is pretty recent games that they just added small features or HD to, so they're just milking a cow.
yeah, that's basically what I think too. Uh, if they add key things or more content to the game, I feel it's more okay to do a remaster or a remake. If you think about games released recently as titled remakes, Final Fantasy VII, for example, it took the original game's idea and story and put it in a completely new concept. It made from turn-based battle system to hack and slash game, for example. It's a good remake. It adds value. But what was done recently, Call of Duty remasters, for example, didn't add anything,
Yeah,
just HD graphics.
definitely. I played the remaster of Modern Warfare 2, and I enjoyed it for a couple hours because you got some nostalgia out of it, but then you wasted like $20 or whatever it was, and you didn't really get anything new. You killed a couple hours with something you've already done, and the graphics weren't that much of a difference as well.
Yeah,
So
I don't feel like I need to buy the remaster because the game wasn't that good, to be honest. Only value it had after you played the campaign once was multiplayer, which wasn't that good if you compare it, for example, Modern Warfare 1, which was the best multiplayer on the series. And I understand why they made the original Modern Warfare remaster, because it was the best multiplayer experience. They wanted to recreate that, but they fucked it up real bad. But what about you, Carlos? How do you feel about remasters and remakes?
Well, I think obviously, just like you two, I think it depends on the game, and not necessarily that much like on the age of the game. Like, I think it's more about like what in what state the original game is, because some games obviously when they come out they're already a bit dated. So having to get it to get the remaster on a game that's only a few years old might be justifiable. But obviously, the point comes when you talk about the pricing of the game and stuff. Because I know a lot of games tend to get these different editions, and sometimes it's sort of a blurred line whether a game is remade or if it's just a package of all the DLCs and stuff like that. So I think like when you get small improvements on a game and then call it a remaster, you should be able to people who bought the original game should be able to at least like get the so-called remastered version. But if it's like a total remaster, then I
Or
feel it's fine
remake?
to or remake. You
Remake.
would be fine to like resell it.
Yeah, because I feel like game developers are going where the fence is the lowest. Go where you don't have to work so much. Take an old game, you don't have to build anything new, just add HD graphics. Tinker with the story a bit, maybe add a mission or two, and then slap a €40 or €50 price tag on it and call it a new game. I think it's quite greedy from the game developers in a sense. If you think about most recent one must be Mafia 2 definitive edition. It costs €40, for example,
Wait,
and it has only HD graphics basically added to it.
and the incredible part about that is the first one that they are bragging about that's going to be so awesome hasn't even dropped yet. they are releasing Part 2 and Part 3, Mafia 2 and Mafia 3, but Mafia 1, the actual remaster that they were marketing, hasn't even dropped at Steam yet.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Does it really have I don't think it has a definite release date either. And when talking about the Mafia games, that's the one you really want a remake on or a remaster on, since
Mafia 1
it's
release
obviously
date
dated.
is actually August. It's August, the release date for Mafia 1.
August what? Yeah, it's
I
just
don't remember.
August. I mean, yeah, they want to release on the obviously the like anniversary of the game or something, but I think like doesn't have a set release date yet. But
Yeah, but it's gonna be August.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 of them ain't even that old. It's
Yeah.
not that many years ago that I played Mafia 3, and it was pretty new. It's a couple years, so
Yeah.
the graphics there are perfectly fine. It's only the first one that might be a little bit bad in the graphics if you want to play the original one. But they just wrap completely modern games into a new package and resell it as something like revolutionarily new. But the only thing we can probably even see a difference if we compare the ones is the first one.
Yeah, that's true. And I completely understand if a game is, for example, which was released in, let's say, Xbox 360 and PS3, it's perfectly okay to update the graphics a bit and release it for PS4 and Xbox One. But still, I think the price should be a bit lower because they're selling the remasters as they would be full new game, and that's not okay in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are very easy on putting these stamps like remake and remastered on new publications because they just do a digital release without any marketing and it gets whatever hype it's get, and maybe it boosts the sales number for a couple of quarters for like the big company, say Rockstar or Activision Blizzard and these kind of game developers. They already have steady numbers, but if they are able to squeeze a couple hundred K more out of an old title in their library by putting remastered behind it, they will just do it
Yeah,
because it will get picked up by the YouTube especially is like picking up all these remastered titles and hyping them up a lot. You see a lot of let's plays on them, and then the sales go for like a couple of weeks, and then they just die again. You'll never hear about the game again.
yeah. But actually, Carlos, you have experience also for remakes in Age of Empires, right?
Yeah, which is one of the like if we're talking about defending remaster or remakes, I think Age of Empires 2, the even the like because this is a game that has now had 2 different remasters. The original game
Yeah.
came out in 1999, and then
Yeah.
it got an HD remake in 2013, which obviously the big part of it was the HD resolution on modern computers, better runs better on your systems and stuff like that. But it also gave us some extra content and later 2 new expansions. And then last year they came out with the Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, which is a whole. They made the graphics like from ground up to modern graphics and new sounds and stuff like that. And it's
So they really tried to work on it.
yeah, and you know like the HD edition wasn't really. It was basically like the original game, but and it obviously got some new content, but it didn't really like touch a lot of the old stuff. Whereas the definitive edition like feels like a like obviously it feels familiar to Age of Empires 2 players, but it's with the new graphics, it's hard to distinguish it from like modern RTS games. So it's kind of neat in that way.
And did you talk earlier about God of War collection also?
Yeah, that's another thing because I know there's like a game series which have like God of War is one of them, and I think another one is Assassin's Creed, which has like a lot of titles on a like handheld consoles and stuff like that. You know, like God of War had I want to say like Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta, which were like PSP spin-off games, and they were later like, repackaged to be able to play them on PS3, as well as the 2 original games that came out in PS2. So I think that's like sort of neat because it's like to people who never like got into gaming on PS2 to get those games on PS3 is nice, and because I doubt a lot of people who own a PS2 and have played 2 God of Wars would have to like go ahead and buy them on PS3. Like it's hardly a different game. I mean, obviously it probably has the HD resolution, but I don't think it looks any better, honestly. So
Yeah, and like Tom said earlier about wrapping games onto another and then getting some hype and disappearing. Halo: The Master Chief Collection. It might have lived a bit when it came out to Xbox One, but haven't heard anything about the Master Chief Collection after its release.
Yeah, but I feel that like that's something that can only work with like these kind of titles. You got Halo, you have Call of Duty, and like these like huge franchises that no matter which game or generation they are in, no matter what they will release, they will get some kind of hype and will be able to boost like at least quarterly numbers for like investors and stuff. But it will never actually bring a lot of people in. Like even if they released a multiplayer version of Modern Warfare 2, the servers will pretty soon die out, as there will probably come a new Call of Duty this autumn or winter, as it always does. So it's just like a way to keep the title like relevant in the medias while there's quiet.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, one more, Carlos. One ball to you again. Mortal Kombat Arcade Collection. Do you have it?
yes, that's one of the first like older games that I remember. I remember like buying on a remake, like a really old game, something that came out in the 90s and stuff. Like before, this was before Age of Empires 2, the HD remake came out. They repackaged the old Mortal Kombat into like a arcade. You could buy them on like I want to say on Xbox and PS3.
And Windows, yeah.
Yeah, because I bought it on Xbox 360 Marketplace, and it had like the original 3 Mortal Kombats, and then I think maybe it might have been just the 3.
Only 3.
Yeah, the 3 first Mortal Kombat,
Mortal
right?
Kombat,
Yeah,
Mortal Kombat 2, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
yeah, exactly.
It had no. But now that we're talking about old games, I remember one really good remake, which was made by the same developer that made the Walking Dead thing. Please say the name.
You mean Telltale?
Telltale, yeah. Monkey Island. They released Monkey Island games in small pieces. Really, really, really good remake. I enjoyed it a lot. It's a puzzle game, basically.
They actually, and
3D
also like talking about Monkey Island, they also did there was the special edition of the original game, which I played. I think I want to say I played last year or 2 years ago, which had like enhanced graphics.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh no, it was like I thought you were talking about. Was it Telltale Games though? Who made the special edition?
I think it was Telltale Games.
Because I know Telltale Games made an original or like a sequel game in Tales of Monkey Island. Or was it a remake of the first one?
It was Tales of Monkey Island, yeah. Tales of Monkey Island. That was basically a sequel.
Yeah, but it was more of a sequel than a remake, wasn't it, though? Like...
Yeah. But still, it was a good upgrade.
Oh yeah. But definitely, but just to like add to that, I think there was cause I have no idea who published the special edition. I just got it on Steam, and I played through it, and it was like a remake of the original Monkey Island game. And what was interesting about it was that you could like toggle on and off of the older and newer graphics instantly in game, so you could like see the difference.
It was released by...
I think it's newer than actually the Telltale Games. I think it came out in like a few years ago.
US Gold Limited published it, the special edition. The developer was LucasArts. It came out in 2010.
Okay, so it wasn't newer. But anyway.
Very much. Those are good games. Anybody if want to check out a good puzzle game, that's a good puzzle game. Go and get it. But all in all, as we have talked about these things, I feel like we have some kind of a common ground that remakes are okay if they add value to the title, if it adds content to the game, if it adds something new. And remasters where you wrap same old game into better graphics and slap some kind of price tag on the side of it, that's not okay. That's just greediness, right?
Yeah, I mean, it can go both ways. It's kind of like a lot of it is just milking old titles, but there is a few examples of like things that I enjoy seeing. Like one of my favorite remakes was the Medieval from Sony Interactive, where
Oh, I remember that game. That's the Skeleton Knight, right?
yeah, correct. And the original was dropped in 1998, and they dropped a remake version now in 2019, which was perfectly fine. I had a great time playing it, and like, but they haven't changed the story anything, so you can sit there 20 years later and actually recall playing it. It was just with new graphics, which was enjoyable enough. So, but I'm pretty sure that anybody growing up after 2000 has never even heard about Medieval.
Well, I think many people growing up in the 90s haven't even heard of Medieval.
I don't know how big of a
So,
game it was, actually. But this is kind of funny because we actually did Medieval did come up in a. I mean, we've done a total of what this is our 4th episode of this,
yeah,
and such a random thing for Medieval to pop up again. So I think we were talking
yeah,
about it in the 1st or 2nd episode as well. So I don't know if it
yeah,
made it to the episode. I just remember talking about it. So,
yeah,
but I was saying, I was like when you think about remakes and remasters, I think obviously there is sort of a difference between the two. Because when I think of remaster, I think of a repackaging onto a newer console or something usually, or like adding the DLCs or expansion packs into one package and selling it again. Because like Medieval, you think about that, it's obviously sort of a remake because they had to go back and I'm assuming they remade the graphics to modern ones, not just like added resolution or try to add a filter or something. Another old game, I don't know if either of you have played Sid Meier's Pirates.
yes,
A classic game, like a classic. The new game is like a classic now because that came out in like 2004. But the original game that it's based on came out in 1987, and you could say like it's a remake of that game. But when you look at those two games, like they look nothing alike. But so that's like a definitely more of a remake than a remaster, I'd say.
yeah. Because if you think about the original one, it was made for Commodore 64.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can like imagine
It was 2D black and white.
from that to
Yeah.
like Microsoft Windows in 2004. So there's gonna be a bit
Yeah.
of a difference.
Yeah, but like there's always going to be some titles that it's going to be okay that they bring it up. Like say that they are gone with the wind, they don't exist on any console that we play today. There is a few titles like if you take Medieval was my example because that's something I grew up with, but there is a lot of titles like Spyro and Sly Cooper and like there is all these great games that would deserve a remake because anybody would also enjoy playing them today, and they've been gone for so long. So most people playing games today would never have touched a console playing those games before.
If we move forward, I don't know, Tom, how much do you play, for example, sports games?
Oh, I'm just as bad
Your
at sports
FIFA,
games as I am in real life.
yeah. For example, FIFA's, Madden's, NHL games, NBA 2K. Can we treat those sports games almost as remakes because they don't really change so much from year to year?
Yeah, I'll never understand. Like, it has become sort of like ingrained to our gaming culture now that this is the way that sports games are. Like, I don't know when it started, but it must have started like way back in like in the 90s, because you had like NHL 92, 93, 94 Nintendo already. So it's like
Yeah.
a really old like way to release these sports games. And you can sort of like you could think like back then, you couldn't really like update the rosters. You couldn't get like you
No.
couldn't just go to online and download new rosters and stuff like that. But it would still be ridiculous. Like even back then, imagine buying a new game every year just to get rosters, let alone nowadays. But so it's hard to like for me to like I wouldn't call them like remasters of like the previous one. I just you like sports games are sort of like their own category, which isn't necessarily good. Like obviously this actually was the first year I haven't bought a new NHL in like 9 years because I didn't buy the 2021. So I
Neither
don't know.
did I.
Yeah, maybe we're finally wising up after like over 10 years of buying the same game. I'm finally thinking, maybe maybe this isn't necessary. But
Yeah, maybe the new consoles will bring some kind of opportunity to bring something new. But for example, NHL franchise, they are reluctant to even change the game engine behind it in this generation consoles because it would be too much work.
But I kind of get it though, because I see my siblings, they all play FIFA games at least, and like every time they drop a new, call it a vintage of FIFA, they are first in line to buy the new one, and then they burn out a whole credit card buying these like card packages or whatever they are, the microtransactions. So I mean, they have created a golden cow, and there is really no reason to change the formula as long as people keep throwing money at it, and we apparently accept that these games, that's just the way they are.
yeah, I know that's like the funny part of it, isn't it? Like nobody bats an eye because it's like this is the way sports games has always been. You get a new one every year with the new number on this case, and it's like I don't know if it's too late to go back on it. Like it would be awesome, like if we instead of that we had like a new NHL or new FIFA game come out every 3 or 4 years, and they'd like keep updating that one until like the new one comes out with new mechanics and stuff.
But I want to jump on something that Tom said there. The microtransactions. That is, in my opinion, cancer of gaming.
Yeah, I guess so. I think like my just to kick it in, because this has pissed me off for like 10 years probably. Like my worst example of microtransactions was when I've always been a huge RuneScape player. I played RuneScape for like 10, 15 years, pretty much since I started playing on computer until a couple of years ago when I just gave up, because they implemented microtransactions where you could pretty much, if you had a big credit card, you could go from 0 to maximum level in everything in the matter of days if you just sat there and hit microtransaction and bought your way up to the top. Which the RuneScape, which everybody that has played it knows, like you're gonna grind shit out of that game forever, unless if you want to get to the top. But now they have ruined like the whole experience of the game by actually making it possible for you can buy yourself out of all the grind. You can just jump from 0 to 100 in no time and just buy all the experience you need to rank up. Which like then the whole point of the game is gone, because as soon as you unlock a feature like that, people are gonna use it because people are actually that lazy and want to be on top.
Yeah. I mean, I guess actually, 'cause it would have been more fun to talk about RuneScape as a remake. Because, I mean, what do you think? Would you consider the when did like RuneScape 3 came out? Like when did the all this Combat of Evolution and stuff? Would you consider that like a remake of the game?
I have absolutely nothing to add in this discussion. Never touched the game.
I just gotta have to think of it because I've kind of put the whole RuneScape on a shelf, because after I left, I got sick and tired of grinding the high scores, and after that I just haven't touched the game. But I guess like you can RuneScape is quite an like interesting example, because you have two versions of the game. You have the RuneScape 3, which had pretty much moved on to be like a MMO and just taking the same path as World of Warcraft and all these other MMOs. They keep upgrading graphics and mechanics and all this stuff to meet like new engines and new techniques and everything like that. And then when the game started to dab off and I'm gonna say die, because there was a while where pretty much nobody played RuneScape unless they were just jumping around talking to friends in there. Then they dropped back the RuneScape's the 07 servers. Like they went back to old school RuneScape with the old beat grinding mechanics, the awful graphics and all this stuff. And suddenly the game was just alive again.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's still more popular than the original RuneScape, the 07 servers.
Yeah, they're way more busy than the original ones,
Yeah.
and I guess we can bring that in as like an example of them bringing back a remake version of the game, even though they pretty much went back in time and downgraded graphics instead of trying to improve them again.
I mean, that's kind of like how much of a like an ego hit can that be to a developer that you create this game that is loved by so many people, and then you update it, and people are like, oh, fuck this game, I don't want to play this anymore. so much that you have to bring back the older version that you thought you improved, but was actually superior to the newer one. Like that's gotta hurt. Like as a developer, spending like years developing a game and then finding out that you messed up on the way and people prefer the way older one and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think here's a good time to end. Thank you, Tom, for visiting our show. You're very welcome to come back anytime you want to show up back in our show. You can find Tom's channel right in the description there below. And thank you all for watching. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Until next time.